So I think we're live. And we have 1 minute.
All right, well, welcome to another week's series. During this month of Mental Health Awareness Month, we've been having, this is our second series that we've been having so far. This week's topic will be talking about tired of being strong. We have a team here with us from the Sound Living Counseling Center, and Mrs. April Taylor, the head counselor at Sound Living Counseling Center, will be spearheading the conversation today. She has over 15 years of experience in mental health, and over 10 of which have been working in her own private practice with clients from different backgrounds and presenting problems. So she'll be sharing some of her wisdom with us today. We also have our team of interns. We have Alicia Wright, who has been working with her for quite some time, and Hannah Knowles and myself, Tracy Ann Hutchinson, who are some of her newest interns. We are streaming live on Facebook, so please feel free to send in your questions. Let us know if you would like us to send you the link, and we will arrange that for you. So now over to Mrs. Taylor as she takes us through our conversation on tired of being strong.
Well, before we do that, let me check. Let me do some housekeeping real quick. Try your audio again. Let's see. Can you help with that, Miss Alicia?
Yes, if you go where it says mute and press the up arrow, it should give you an option to leave computer and then join again. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, and so what I want to do before we get started is I want everybody to kind of go around and introduce themselves, and so that we can kind of get to know who we have today on our panel. And then after we introduce ourselves, we can go ahead and we'll start the conversation. So let's start with Alicia. Go ahead and tell us who you are and why you're here.
Hi, my name is Alicia Wright. I am an intern working with Sound Living Counseling Center. I am getting my master's in clinical mental health counseling, and I'm looking forward to, after graduation, also coming on the Sound Living team as a counselor.
We're excited about that. Welcome. What about you, Miss Nerva? Will you tell us about yourself a little bit?
Yes, hi, my name is Nerva Ashe. I'm one of the newest, I guess, therapists with Sound Living. I used to work for DCS, Children's Services, for 15 years, have my master's in marriage and family, and working toward my licensure. After 22 years, but I'm happy to be on board and looking forward to work with everyone.
Welcome, thank you. And what about you, Miss Tracy Ann? Will you introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Tracy Ann Hutchinson. I am a graduate student at Southern Adventist University. I'm also in the clinical mental health counseling program, and I am one of Miss April's newest interns.
And Miss Hannah?
Hello, my name is Hannah Knowles. I'm currently an undergraduate student at Southern Adventist University studying family systems psychology. My plans post-graduation are to go to grad school, get my master's in clinical mental health counseling, and hopefully be a counselor someday. And I'm also a new intern at Sound Living.
Welcome. So Miss Tracy Ann, I want you to host this part of the conversation. we want to find out what it means to be tired. So just kind of poll us, ask us some questions. We'll look to see if the audience has any questions as well. If you guys have any comments about what it means to be strong, or if you're tired of being strong, please weigh in, because this first half, we want to just spend some time talking about what it means to be strong, or what it means to be tired of being strong. So take
Okay.
it away, Ms. Tracy.
All right. Well, I think the topic of being tired or being tired of being strong is something that a lot of people can relate to. But I find that even particular populations of persons, especially maybe like mothers or, women in general, or students, or persons who are going through a lot of loss during this time with COVID and everything, or even persons in the helping professions. I have found that those are individuals who tend to suffer a lot from just really being tired and being tired of being strong. So I just kind of want to hear from you guys what you have seen, maybe just, from a day-to-day experience, maybe in your own lives or otherwise, in terms of some of the populations that have been most affected by this phenomenon.
I have to agree with you, Tracy Ann, when you also talk about how the pandemic, COVID, has definitely kind of played into our tiredness, because when we think of tired, we think of like no energy, we think of not able to get up and do things. And with the pandemic, it's like our tiredness kind of makes us a new person. There's a lot of changes, there's a lot of things that we have to deal with, and when we're down and about something, people are saying, you got this, be strong. And it's just hard, definitely, to pick yourself back up, go about your day, put a smile, kind of, in a sense, fake it until you make it. And I love how Miss April, in our session, says, faith it till you make it. And that's such a beautiful, beautiful saying. So, the tired of being strong, this is definitely something that's really good that we're talking about.
Yeah, I like that. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll chime in. Being a college student, I've seen a lot of tiredness on campus this semester. Students are, naturally tired with classwork, tests, and all that on the regular, but especially kind of what we're talking about with COVID too. It's kind of a new type of tired that students are experiencing. And I've just seen how we're all trying to figure out how to approach this different type of tiredness. And it's like there's this expectation naturally when you're on a college campus, at least for me as a student, you look at other students and you kind of compare yourself sometimes, and you say, oh, well, why can I do well in this classes, compared to this other student? And I don't know, it's kind of like just reminding yourself that it's okay if you are tired, if you need to take a break. There's no shame in that. And it's something we all experience. And I think it's just so important to listen to yourself when you're getting those cues from your mind, your body, that you need to slow down. And there's nothing wrong with that. So that's something I've learned this semester or this school year being a college student. And it's okay to take time to rest and address the tiredness that I feel.
Okay, so that's good. I like how you started to just kind of mention some strategies there for improving that, or even for self-care. Just listening to how your body feels. Not comparing yourself to other individuals, and using positive self-talk, even just to reassure yourself throughout those difficult times. So I like that. Miss April, anything that you wanted to add?
Well, let's see what Nerva has. Nerva may have something that she wants to add. I'm gonna kind of clean up a little bit.
Okay.
Well, I mean, one way people could be tired of being strong is, I mean, as women, we tend to play a lot of roles. We are mothers, we are sisters, we are religious leaders, we are everything. and we are in the, working. We have to make sure everything is going well in the home. So and you don't want to show that you are weak, but it's okay to show that you are weak. It's okay to be tired. It's okay. But you have to get to a point where you know yourself and say, hey, I need time out, and take that time out and regroup, because if we don't take care of yourself, you cannot be a mother, you cannot be a sister, a cousin, or whatever you are, and you are gonna crash mentally, spiritually, physically, and everything else. And we want to be able to carry the world on our shoulder, but there's one person who has already done that for us. So you have to rely on him, who's able to carry you. So you have to be grounded and be rooted on knowing to cast your care on your Savior first, and then be grounded in who you are and love who you are, so that you could be whatever it is that you need to be to everyone else. And then space yourself, and know when to say no, and not giving excuses for saying no. So yeah.
I think that's really good advice. I think self-care is something that a lot of persons struggle with. Sometimes people might think that it's selfish to take care of themselves, but that's not the case, because just as you rightly mentioned, if you look at it from the perspective of you're taking care of yourself so that you can better take care of others, then that's not selfish. So I think that's really good advice, because you can only give as much as you have. So knowing your limits, knowing just how much you can or cannot do, and knowing when to say no, I think are really, really good suggestions there. And I love the faith-based integration as well. Just relying and leaning on God, knowing that our strength comes from Him. I think that's another really, really good point that was made.
All right, Auntie, you logged on now. Can you hear us pretty good?
Yes, I hear y'all.
Okay, do you want to join in and add something about being tired?
In a few, let me think about it.
All right, well, just let me know if you want to jump back in. We want to include you in the conversation. One of the things that I love what you ladies said. I think it's really cool how you gave so many different perspectives, as women, as students, we get tired. And I love the self-care already being brought in and Jesus already being brought in. We're going to talk about that a lot toward the end, but I love that that's already being addressed. One of the questions I have for you guys is, what do you hear people being tired of? Like, what are we tired of? Tired of doing, tired of hearing, tired of saying? What kind of things are we kind of tired of?
Well,
Go ahead.
go ahead, Alicia.
No, Tracy Ann, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was about to say that, just kind of going off of what you mentioned earlier on about COVID. I know that a lot of persons are tired of, just certain restrictions, or tired of having to wear masks, or, just tired of quarantine. In some areas, there's still some quarantine restrictions there, or, distancing restrictions or things like that, just longing for things to be how they were before. I know that so many persons are just tired of what has become the new normal, and they still haven't quite adjusted to that as yet. So I think that's definitely one of the things that is causing some anxiety, some feelings of loneliness, maybe in some individuals.
Did you want to let Nerva? I think Nerva had her hand up too, and Alicia. Who wants to go?
Oh, okay.
And watch for the hands for me, Miss Tracy.
Okay, thank you. I missed that one.
Go ahead, Alicia, and then we'll see.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
So on what you were saying before with the like selfish versus self-care, I've heard so many people say that they're just tired of having to give to others and not being able to just having the ability to just take care of yourself. And I like how you kind of mentioned, you can only give what you have. And it's kind of like, a glass, if that glass is empty, what are you going to give to others? And it's kind of sometimes comes off as people saying, well, you're selfish, you should be self-giving and helping others, and sometimes it can be hard and tiring just not be able to just take that space to say, hey, can I just have a minute? I just need to regroup, I need to recharge. And I really heard that a lot, especially with COVID and pandemic going on, because sometimes we are going through hard times, especially with the high deaths and illnesses, and just being, like you said, quarantine and not being able to be around others. So, that's one thing I've definitely heard of people talking about, just being tired and not be able to take care of themselves.
Yeah, and if I can just go off of that before Ms. Nerva shares her points. I remember a study that I did back home in Jamaica on burnout and coping among emergency physicians at one of the hospitals there in Jamaica. And the results were really alarming, just the high rates of burnout and stress that persons within that helping profession experienced. And it was in line with the literature. But I was still alarmed by just how much these persons were experiencing such high levels of stress, which had caused them to become burnt out to the point where they weren't even being effective in their professions. They had become, some of them, maybe just became so stressed that they weren't functioning well enough, or they became, callous or just emotionally distant, all those symptoms of burnout. So I think it's really, really important, like you mentioned, Alicia, just to take that time for ourselves. Being in the position of helping persons is a wonderful thing. But I think that we also need to remember to apply to our own lives what we tell others to do, which one of those things is often self-care. Okay, so Miss Nerva, did you want to mention something? Do you have a point to add?
I don't know if I did raise my hand, but one of the main way of being burned out is job stress. People doing the same job over and over, or having difficulty with their boss or co-workers, stuff like that could have a very big impact on how you perform your job at home. Like you guys already mentioned the COVID situation, but we could definitely see lots of burnout or lack of a job. With the pandemic, a lot of people who used to work or who are hard workers and their job were closed due to no fault of their own. So now, and then they finding themselves having to depend on government help or other people. You could see the homelessness becoming so high. So all that, it's an impact. It's impacting a lot of people.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys know this, but the unemployment rates during COVID were so significant that they were the highest rates that were experienced since the Great Depression. And that's major. So lots of persons are experiencing a lot of job-related stress and, tiredness as a result of that.
I love that you guys have addressed the healthcare workers. And this will be a great place for healthcare workers to jump in and talk about what they're tired of. I know we talked about tired of wearing a mask and tired of social distancing, but I can imagine them being tired of, what they have to do every single day, people hurting and dying and, coming in. It's just been such a really, really tough season. It's been a tough season for counselors as well. You kind of mentioned that because we you know, we're on the front end, so we're busy all the time. So that's been hard. But a lot of jobs have been on the front lines, a lot of jobs, not just counselors, not just doctors and nurses, but there's been a lot of jobs that had to work through the pandemic that didn't get a break, that still don't get a break. And then one of the things I wanted to address is like teachers and parents. So teachers, you know, they had to step up and figure out Zoom. I was a teacher at the time this happened, so I had to learn Zoom on the fly. So we had to learn Zoom. And then we had to help the parents and the kids learn Zoom. And then parents had to help with the kids and sit and do their job at home and then help their child do their schoolwork at home. So that's been quite a challenge. So I'm sure parents and teachers are especially tired. Again, we talked about nurses and doctors and everybody who works in the hospital, every single person from the custodian to the food service worker, to the lab workers, every single person has been stretched to their max. So we know that they're tired. And so we want to address all those things today, and we want them to join the conversation. I'm trying to watch our Facebook and see who's kind of joining in, because we'd love to hear questions. We'd love to hear you guys add your comments. You can join us on Zoom if you like. Let us know if you're interested in doing that. We'll send you a link because we want to help you help us finish this conversation. Did that stir anything for anybody as we talk about the healthcare workers and the teachers and the parents? Would you guys comment on any of that?
I think that one of the things that I have just kind of noticed is just the significantly higher number of hours that persons are having to work. And I think you kind of touched on that a little bit, but just the fact that you know, there are so many more patients in medical facilities right now, you know, with COVID related issues, or there are so many more persons who might be seeking mental health services because rates of anxiety and depression and all these other things are going up. You know, persons are having to work so many more hours, and then that's taking a toll on them physically and emotionally and mentally and every type of even. You know, so it really is something that can definitely contribute to that feeling of tiredness. And again, like I mentioned before, just those high levels of stress and burnout. So for sure, I think healthcare workers are definitely ones who we need to watch out for, you know, and, you know, just, you know, maybe see how we can assist them in some kind of way in just kind of educating, bringing more awareness to these things that are going on.
Absolutely. And I hope this will start that conversation and help us with the healthcare workers. Would you guys add anything else as we kind of talked about kind of the people on the front lines and what they've been doing?
I'm just piggybacking on what Tracy Ann was saying. Like I pray a lot for the healthcare workers and those on the front line, because I have family members who are in that field of work. And I know in the beginning, and as new strains have come through, it's been really hard not being able to see family, especially those who have young children. Sometimes they can't go home that night, you know? So it's a tiring, definitely tiring, like field, and tiring just getting up and trying to put on the face, trying to be there for others. And especially if you have a very empathetic heart, like Miss April was saying, you know, you kind of take your patients and what you see in front of you back with you. And it's kind of hard, definitely trying to also being there for those you're caring for while also making sure and protecting yourself.
What about teachers? Would you guys add anything about teachers? What do you you know any teachers? Have you kind of been in touch with any teachers and how they're doing?
Yeah, I actually have a cousin who's a teacher, and she's been working really hard on trying to be there for her little ones through virtual, because you know they thrive on being around other people and the interaction. So it's been really hard, you know, definitely trying to reach out to her students and being there. And I know she's had a few times where she's done a drive-by, with her mask, and she might like leave something for them. And so definitely like there is, as you said, Ms. April, is so many different fields that are being affected by this. So I know like in that field, of course, there is definitely things that have been hard.
Anything else you guys want to add? I have another group that we're going to address in a minute too. Do you guys want to add anything before I jump into this next group?
Well, just kind of going off of the topic of teachers, I remember that sometime last year in Jamaica, teachers had to be finding a lot of new ways, very innovative and creative ways of making contact with their students, because Jamaica is a third world country. It's not a first world country like the United States, where maybe a lot of children would have had technological devices at home. So there was no way for a lot of students to be able to access the resources that they needed in order to continue their education. So teachers, out of out of good intentions and wanting the best for these children, they had to be driving to these different homes, dropping off lesson plans and exercises and all these different things, and then going back to pick them up. And so it was a very stressful time for a lot of persons. So, and I know that in the US, there still are those communities that are lower on the socioeconomic ladder, where persons might not have that advantage too. And that must have been very difficult for those individuals as well. From the parents to the students to the teachers working under those circumstances.
And thank you so much for bringing up Jamaica. I know that you're from Jamaica, and it's cool to have somebody here that knows that kind of stuff. But I love like expanding this conversation, because it's not just America. Like sometimes we just can only think of America because that's all we know. But I love that we're expanding it worldwide. That it is an international crisis, and this crisis has affected the world and not just in our four little walls. So that's great that you're expanding that conversation. I'll tell you who else has been impacted a lot. Children, our teens, we talked about students like college students, but our teens, our young ones, it has really impacted them. And I don't worry much because Jesus has it, but I'm a little concerned about the impact that this pandemic is having on our kids. And I think we really need to be aware, and they're tired. They're tired. Somebody said a mask and social distancing and those kind of things. But they're tired of not being able to hang out with their friends. They're tired of not being able to, everything's been on lockdown. So can you imagine a kid being on lockdown? I mean, it's been tough for me. So for youngsters, it's been really, really tough. We've been trying to we've done a teen event. We're going to try to do a couple more this summer. But just because teens need something to do and something fun. And it's hard to just be locked down, locked in the house, can't go anywhere, can't do anything. It's been a really, really tough year for our children. So we need to listen to them. We need to pay attention to them. We need to kind of listen to what's going on, hear their hearts, because there's a lot going on with them. We need to really pay attention. So parents, pay attention. If you're healthcare workers, pay attention, listen to our kids, because this has been really hard. I don't know if you guys can add anything to that, but I know that's a group that's really been impacted.
And let me add, especially, kids who were being abused already, or now mom or dad or whoever it is, sometimes they find themselves, going to school used to be a place where they could, at least spend 7-8 hours without being abused, or work for the grown up, that used to be a venture for them to get away from the abuser. But now everybody's home. So there's no way out. So yeah, we have to be mindful of those things. That's why we notice that a lot of depression are there in the children, especially young age. My little nephew, doing the for the past 4 months, I had him with me, and he kept saying how he wanted to go back to school. He wanted to go back to school. And he's not one who would, he could be by himself and he could have one or two friends, but he kept saying, I miss school, I miss school, I miss school, because he didn't like the idea of waking up every morning, being in front of the computer screen. And yeah, so it does affect them a whole lot. So, yeah.
Very good. Anybody else want to add anything? Welcome, Miss Ashley. You can introduce yourself too if you like.
I'll just add something about, as we're talking about children, I myself have 2 young nephews, and when I spend time with them or babysit them, I see how tired they are. When we think of children, they tend to have a lot of energy, and we don't really think, oh, they can get tired emotionally and all that too, but they can. And especially with the pandemic, it's taking a toll. Personally, and seeing my nephews, they are, they have more tantrums. They're angry. They don't understand what's really going on, and so I can only imagine. Just I'm 22, so I can understand a bit what's happening, and that it's going to be a while before things go back to normal. But being a kid right now, my heart goes out to them. They are definitely struggling, and they need that social connection, and having that through a screen is just not sufficient for them. And so they are hurting, they are suffering. And I also do think of, my first thought was like, I have some friends even in college that home for them is not a safe place. So someone mentioned that earlier, and so I immediately thought of how it must be so hard if school is a safe haven for some young individuals, and now that's taken away. And so I can only imagine the tiredness they're feeling. So just something to keep in mind.
Very good. I'll tell you another population, men. Our men have had it hard. I mean, they've had to work, they've lost jobs, they've had all kinds of struggles. We're trying to get together something for men on mental health, like a men-only conversation. Hopefully that will happen soon. I'm excited about it. I'm working with some of my counselors to try to see, because we've got 3 male counselors, so we're trying to see, can we get them working? Well, that's besides my co-counselor, Brad, that makes 4. But so Sound Living is proud to have those guys on board, and we would love to have a conversation for men by men, where they just have that conversation about men and mental health. So I want to address it. I know men are struggling. I think we've got one gentleman on our call, and so we're happy to have you. And if you want to add something or ask any questions, we're happy to address those today. But we're excited to have an all-male panel at some point to be able to address the mental health questions and the tiredness of men. I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. We've got veterans, male and female, but those are also people who are tired. They've worked on the front line for years and years and years. And then with all this happening, they're definitely in crisis. So we definitely need to address that as well. Anything else you guys are seeing, or any other comments, questions before we try to jump into some solutions and some things that we can really, we want to kind of everybody jump in and try to offer some help, because we like to talk about what the problem is, which I think we set up pretty well. So anything else about the issue of being tired before we start working on some solutions? And Auntie, if you want to jump in, just wave, I'll let you in.
Okay.
All right, anything else about being tired? Oh, we didn't speak of it, people who are retired. If you're retired and you're at home and you're used to going out and being able to do things, you're not able to get out anymore and do the things you used to do. So that's a lot harder. So that makes you tired. Tired of, a lot of what keeps us going is helping other people. We can't even do that anymore. We have to stay in the house, so we can't go send cards or help people or do those kind of things. So I think that's affecting So our elderly population is being impacted by not being able to get out and not being able to, or being able to see your grandkids, or being able to, it's been a year for some people since they've seen kids or grandkids. And then with all the loss and grief, not being able to bury your loved ones or be there, or those things are also impactful for people. So I definitely want to address those as making us tired, because it's a lot. I do want to address, so we were going to talk about, before we jump into solutions. So we were supposed to have this conversation last week on Mother's Day. And I would tell you, girlfriend was tired. So the counselor got tired, canceled the appointment because I couldn't do it. I took care of myself. I took a nap. I chilled. I relaxed. I felt better. I got up the next day. I'm like, okay, we'll have it next week. But we did not have it last week because I was tired. And so I want to admit that. And, you know, as counselors, we have to take care of ourselves. We can't just take care of everybody else. I mean, it was a bright idea to do it on Mother's Day, and I was excited about it, but I was whipped. I mean, it just emotionally, it was a lot. And I just went to bed, and, you know, I got some rest and got some phone calls and had some loving on me the next day. That was real nice, but I was really, really tired on Mother's Day. So it happens to the best of us. So I just wanted to admit that and kind of bring that into the conversation, that when you're tired, don't quit. You know, just seek some help, do what you need to do to take care of yourself, and then keep going. Like, we still had the conversation, we just didn't have it last week. So still a conversation worth having. But I just want to go ahead and admit that. Any comments about that before we jump into solutions? Anything else about being tired?
No, not from my end.
So let's talk about, you guys have mentioned some things. Somebody mentioned self-care. What does that look like? What does it look like for you? What does it look like for others? Let's describe self-care first, and then we'll jump into some other things.
Well, I think self-care can vary, you know, of course, from person to person, just kind of based on what they enjoy doing, what things work for them. So it can depend. Some persons, for some people, self-care might look like going for a walk, or reading, or, you know, getting a massage, or you know, spending time with their pets, or, you know, their family members, or, you know, all these different things, just to boost your sense of well-being, and just your emotional and mental state in a positive way. So anything that you can engage in that can help you to feel happier, help you to feel more relaxed, just help you to have that overall more positive sense of well-being, I think. Just taking that time out for yourself, whatever form that might be, whatever things you might enjoy, I think that's what it comes down to at the end of the day.
Would anybody else like to add anything about what self-care looks like for you, or what it looks like in general?
I have to agree with Tracy Ann. Like, self-care is kind of just doing things that are enjoyable to you, that help you get to a state where you can function, where you can be okay. You may not be 100% like, you know, amazing, but for that point in time, like, you can get up and you can do something. And I think self-care definitely does look different for so many people. For some, it could be going outside, going for a run, you know, being around people. For others, it could be kind of just shutting themselves off for a little bit, reading a book, you know, watching a movie, doing something for them that just kind of gets them like in a right mindset.
Anybody else want to add anything about what self-care looks like, or before we jump into some more ideas?
For me personally, being a student, it's important to maintain self-care. So I just look for things that help me feel refreshed when I'm just worn out from studying all the time. And for me, that just looks like I love reading. sometimes even just writing my thoughts out helps, and going for walks, like Tracy Ann said. So really just things that I enjoy, that where I once I've done them, I feel fulfilled, or just again rejuvenated and re-energized. So
Very good. Does anybody else want to add anything about self-care before we kind of pivot a little bit?
I would add, sometimes it's giving you permission not to do anything. You don't have to do anything. You could, it's okay to say, I didn't do it today. I'm not doing it today. So, and just be you, or be still.
Very good. Very good. And sometimes we have to, like I said, I had to admit that last week, and it was such a rare thing for me to say, you know what, I'm not going to do something I scheduled to do, but I didn't. And I felt great not doing it. Like it was really a blessing for me. I felt bad for the team that was expecting to do it, but for me, it was like the right call. So what kind of things, one of the things that I've been kind of working with a lot this year, I did it very naturally for me. And then I realized that it was something that really helps us to come alive, is the arts. So everything from theater to bird watching, to drawing, to painting, to listening, to dancing, to, and we talked about exercising. Just what kind of things make you come alive? I really like people to think about that. What lights you up? What brightens your day? And I'll start with this one. We've been gardening, which we're excited about, and we garden every year. My husband is the gardener, and I just kind of follow suit, and he kind of shows me how to plant the seeds and how deep, or I can read the package. But I promise you, I'm not the gardener. However, I love harvesting. So I get so excited when you plant a garden, get it all ready, and I love harvesting and posting pictures and cooking fresh stuff from the garden. It's just amazing. But this year I planted flowers. So I'm looking forward to having fresh cut flowers from my own yard. And I always plant some in the front a little bit, but like I planted some in the back. I planted sunflowers last year, so I did that again this year. So I'm going to have sunflowers and extra flowers, so I can just have cut flowers all year. So I'm excited for that to happen. So I also put out bird watchers, just bird feeders right on my porch. And I posted a picture to the team this afternoon of a cardinal that just landed right, because they have to feel you out first. We had them last summer, and so it takes a while for them to get comfortable. So the red cardinal just came and got comfortable, and I got a great picture. And so it was just so sweet. And then I have some hummingbird feeders as well. So I can't wait, because last year they were just dancing on the porch all year, just dancing. It was just amazing. And I had never really done that before. So now it's just kind of like it's going to be an annual thing. I can't wait till the grandbabies get here, so they'll love that, just having the birds already here when they get here. Actually, we put a birdhouse out too, kind of by accident. I just stuck it in the corner, and the birds, we have baby birds in a birdhouse, and it's so cool. We can hear them on the porch, and it's just precious. We didn't know they would kind of take to the house, but they did. And it was the first time we stuck it out there, and it's like, oh, that's cool. So stuff like that just is entertaining. Taking pictures, riding a bike. I mean, just think about things that really make you come alive, things maybe you loved as a child. I think we've got a couple of writers. So writing will make you come alive. Coloring, clay. What do you guys have? I threw a lot of stuff out there. What do you guys have that really makes you come alive?
Well, for me, a lot of those things that that you mentioned, I think I can relate to a lot of them, like the writing, or I know that we spoke about before, about going for walks and things like that. I find nature to be very therapeutic. So for me, just kind of being outside whenever I can is also helpful. But one of the things that that we haven't mentioned that also works for me is just taking time to spend with my family members. So even amid my busy schedule with school, I try to deliberately take time to call my parents every day, to connect with my sisters on a weekly basis and things like that. And that really helps. It helps to keep me just, emotionally stable and reconnected with those who really matter to me. Helps to keep me grounded so that I don't get so tied up in all the things that I have to do, that absorbs all of my energy and my attention. And then I begin to lose focus of other even more important things in life. So I think that's really important too. That social connection with loved ones.
Anybody else?
Yes, April.
Yes, ma'am.
For me, it is doing crossword puzzle, coloring, playing cards, and walking. Now that I'm getting back out to try to walk, I feel so much better. Because I walk twice a day. I go in the morning and the afternoon. And contacting family members, you know that, of course.
Absolutely. So let me
Mhm.
introduce my Aunt Beulah. I know that you guys know that we've had some losses. The ones we don't know may not know we had some losses. Well, my Aunt Beulah survived. So her two sisters passed during the pandemic. She survived. And one of the ways we've been staying connected is Zoom. So we have a family Zoom kind of weekly, and this has kind of interrupted that. So I'm like, come on, go ahead and join us on this. But my auntie she's already been like a mom to me anyway. But she's more like a mom to me now, and I try to be like a daughter and try to check on her and make sure she's, has what she needs. We have other family that hang out. We have like a whole group that we kind of do it with, but Auntie is a survivor, and we're so proud of her, and she's doing great, and she's walking and moving and doing all that good stuff. So I'm glad you could be on the call, because you're a great example too of what it looks like to take care of yourself. So I have to give you a shout out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What about spiritually? What are we doing to take care of ourselves spiritually? We alluded to a little bit because we're all spiritual. So what does that look like? Go ahead, Nerva. I saw you pop on.
Well, I have to have that connection with God. Morning, 5:30 in the morning, I wake up, do my personal devotion. And then family devotion follow that, and stay connected. And I started during the pandemic, I decided that I was going to be a medical missionary. So I did my training with that. So incorporating lifestyle and mental health and all that, with the spirituality aspect of it, and just staying grounded, because I don't know where I would be without God. And reading, not just reading just to say that I know the verse, but applying it. What does that mean to me? What did it mean in the context of when it said it, and what do I need to do with it next? Do I need to I'm pretty sure it's not for me to be selfish with it, and who can I share it with? And sharing it with people, and helping my children to develop a relationship with God, and being there for my husband. Those are, the things that I need, to keep me grounded and be spiritually fit, and, have sound mind, because he promises he will keep us in perfect peace. So, going to him and, see what he has to say for the day.
Beautiful, beautiful. Anybody else? What are we doing spiritually? Because that's a big part. We talk about self-care, we talk about a lot of things, but spiritual self-care is more important than any other self-care. We've got to take care of ourselves spiritually and be connected. So what are you ladies doing to take care of yourself spiritually?
I'll just share. One way I've always been able to connect with God is through music. So I've recently been learning the guitar, and I've always enjoyed singing and being in choir. So that's always helped me kind of just like worshiping God has always been really touching for me. And yeah, just also reading the Bible. And I have a verse that kind of relates to our topic that I'd like to read, if that's okay. Sure. It's always encouraged me when I'm feeling tired and worn. So it's 2 Corinthians chapter 12, and it's verses 9 to 10. And it said, "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong." And so I just find that that verse has always helped me when I'm feeling tired of being strong, because I know that even when I'm going through that, God is my strength. And it's okay if I'm tired, because he provides me with strength. I call on him. Even when I don't call on him, he will strengthen me. And so it's kind of beautiful that even when we feel weak, when we feel tired, we are still strong because we have God. So
Beautiful, absolutely. Go ahead, Miss Hannah. You get me all excited. Go ahead and start running in here. Any other comments or because I have an idea that I want to wrap with, but I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to kind of say anything they want to say before we kind of wrap it up today.
Well, for me, one of the things that I have found to be helpful is so besides like morning and evening devotional time, just taking that extra time when I really, really need it, whether it might be throughout the day or whether it might be just setting aside time to do like a prayer and fasting session or something. I find that that really helps to boost me up to the point where I need to be able to carry on. And I remember that before the start of the winter semester this year in January, I knew that it was going to be a very trying semester. It was going to be the semester in which I would have been doing the most number of courses since I've been here at Southern, still having to work and do a lot of other things as well. And for whatever reason, I kept on envisioning myself just in my mind. These images would flash through my mind of me just overworking myself to the point of becoming so exhausted that I would literally faint. And then I would get back up and then just keep going and going and going, and then faint again and just keep at it. And I was like, why do these images keep coming up in my mind? And I felt maybe like God was impressing upon my heart that I really needed to spend some extra time in prayer and fasting about what was going to happen during that semester. And as much as I knew that on paper, yes, it was going to be a rough semester because it was going to be the most courses that I would have been required to do since I've been here. I did not have the slightest clue as to exactly all the stress that semester would have entailed. And all my classmates mentioned that it was the roughest semester for us since they've been in the program. But the professors were so gracious. They were so kind to us. I saw miracle after miracle, God just coming through one after the other. And I really attribute that to that time that I spent in prayer and fasting before the beginning of the semester. I think without that time, I would have maybe just what I had envisioned in my mind would have become a reality. Me just overworking myself so much to the point of just literally fainting. So I think that is really important too. Just taking those extra moments when we need it, just to really spend that extra time with God, seeking His help and His power.
So I love that. Any other comments before I wrap it up?
I just had one. When Hannah was talking, it reminded me so much of when I first started Southern, I started like father and daughter dates. So that was like my time when I would just talk to God, and I would, if anything, whatever was in my mind, I'd be like, God, what does your word have to say about this? If I'm anxious, what does the Bible have to say about anxiety? I'm broken right now. God, what does your word say about brokenness? And I would read it. I would tell God, like, God, I don't understand this. Like, how can I use this verse today? Like, just help me. And I would sit there crying. I would sit there like, just literally just being vulnerable. And I just love faith being used in self-care, just because like I know God is not somebody we see, but he's somebody that's always there for us. And faith is definitely something that's so beautiful.
Awesome. So you guys bring me to my favorite topic. I want to say a little bit about my spiritual self-care too. I go to God. I struggle a lot. I guess because I'm out here in the thick of things, I hear a lot, I struggle a lot. And I go to him and he, as a matter of fact, after I went and I didn't do my little events last Sunday, God just loved me and told me the most beautiful words that just uplifted me. And so I just kind of could run on with the rest of the week because he kind of spoke to me. So whenever I struggle, I'm learning. I don't always, but I'm learning to go to him and say, this is what I'm dealing with. I love how you said it, Miss Alicia. You know, you go on your daddy-daughter dates. I go to him and say, I need help. And he helps me. Miss Hannah, I love the worship. I'm a worshiper, so I love the worship. You know, look, I'm gonna put you on the spot. You're going to sing to us or play for us at some point, because girl, I'm a worshiper. Okay, so that's good stuff. And Tracy, Nerva, Tracy Ann, you guys have brought out, this is what I want to talk about. And so you guys bring it right to the forefront, which is, I have a book. I have about 4 books that I want to write. Just hadn't had time to write them yet. But the 4th one is called A Beautiful Soul. And I feel like that my work has been this whole 15 years dealing with people with beautiful souls, from my interns to my counselors to my people I serve to the people in the community. I just deal with the people with the most beautiful souls. And I'm like, God, did you send them to me? Because I have a beautiful soul. Like, what's up with that? Or does every counselor get people with beautiful souls? Like, how does that work? Haven't figured that part out yet. But I love dealing with people who are broken and who are struggling, and reminding them that, guess what? God designed you. He designed, this was not a flaw. He designed you to be the giver. He designed you to be the helper. He designed you to be the person who helps everybody, who always giving, like my aunt. I'm gonna go ahead and give another shout out. My auntie is she cooks. We come for Thanksgiving. She taking plates out after we have dinner. She taking plates to the community, or she does some stuff at the church or for the homeless communities. You know what, my gift of giving and sharing comes from family. Like, that's how I was raised. And so we give back because that's all we know is to give back. So that's, but that's who she is. But God created her to be that way. That was not a coincidence. He created me to be a giver, to be a helper, to want to come on a Sunday afternoon that I could be doing anything. I could be riding my bike, but I want to come on so I can help somebody, because I heard some people say they're tired. They're tired of being tired. Some people are tired of being here. We're going to talk about suicide in a couple of weeks. We're going to talk about OCD next week. But people are tired. So I want you to know that you're a beautiful soul. You were designed the way you were designed. It was not a coincidence. I posted this beautiful thing. I don't even know the young lady, and I'm just kind of learning about a little bit about TikTok, but a young lady talked about the nicest, she talked about, I guess, the theory of evolution, the Big Bang Theory and all that good stuff. And she just broke it down so neat and beautiful. And it just reminded us that we were created. It wasn't a coincidence. It didn't just happen. It wasn't an explosion. It wasn't something that just randomly happened by the theory of relativity. No, it did not. God loves us, and he created each one of us unique and beautiful the way we are. So embrace who you are and embrace your creator and be okay. Like, it's okay to be tired. Just be tired and take to him and let him help us work through it. Find a way for spiritual self-care. Find a way for self-care. Deal with your mental health. If you need help, we're here to serve. This is just part of our team. One day we're going to have a meet the team so you can meet the rest of our team. But we're here to serve, and we're here to help. If you're dealing with grief, there are grief counselors, there are hospice workers, grief sharers available. Go to your doctor. If you don't know where to go and how to find a counselor, go to your doctor. He'll help you find, he or she will help you find a good counselor in your community. If you don't know, even if you're out of town and you don't know how to find somebody, reach out to me, because we have a great connection where I have other counselors all over the world who know other counselors, so we'll find you somebody. But just know you don't have to suffer by yourself. If you're feeling suicidal, there's a suicide hotline. Reach out to the hotline, reach out to us. Don't suffer alone. Just know that help is available. We can you know, we're here to help as a team, and just reach out to us, let us know, reach out to your doctors, reach out. Do not suffer in silence, even if you're tired. Any other comments, Ms. Tracy, and you want to close us out?
Sure. Well, thank you everyone for all the wonderful insights that you shared. And I thank those who may be viewing online for having joined us. Just a reminder, as Ms. April mentioned, that next week we'll be having another topic, this time on OCD becoming unstuck. So next week, Sunday at the same time, 6 p.m. as we continue this series during this Mental Health Awareness Month. And then the week after that, we're going to be having another topic on suicide. That's the entire topic is Suicide, the World Needs You. I think that one is definitely one that should not be missed, because as we've mentioned before, you know, so many persons are struggling with things that can unfortunately lead to suicidal ideations and things like that. This feeling of tiredness. So tune in, you know, whether you can use that information for yourself or to help somebody else. I'm sure that it will definitely be beneficial. So thank you once again.
Thank you, everyone.
April,
Yes, ma'am. Hold tight.
I got
Hold
this
tight, hold-
card.
Hold
Can you
tight, Auntie. Let me take it off Facebook Live.
I got this card that I get and send out to people.
Okay.
How to